Welcome to our regular meeting of council in person and live streamed electronically, Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. I'll start by a few announcements. Our interim tax bills are out with a due date of March 29th. We have a new initiative to engage residents, so check out the social media page. The township is looking for the community rep for the new Lanark County OPP Detachment Board. Community items upcoming. March 6th, will and estate planning. It's free at Rosedale Hall, 6:30 p.m. March 15th is trivia night at Rosedale Hall. March 17th is the St. Patrick's Dance and Dinner at Rosedale Hall at 2 p.m. We have our zoning bylaw draft amendments are posted for public comment and notices in the tax bill. I'll open our meeting with our land acknowledgement. The council and staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that this sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located and this meeting is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. I'll have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. So moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that the regular meeting of council agenda dated March 5th, 2024 be approved as amended this date to move items 8C and 8D from information to action. All in favor? And that's carried. If you have a disclosure of interest now or at any point in time during our meeting, moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll that the minutes of the regular meeting of council dated February 20th, 2024 be approved as presented. All in favor? And that's carried. Do we have any business arising from our previous meeting? So we have a delegation tonight. We have our Smith Falls Library presentation. So I'll ask Chris and Sarah Lynn.
Tell myself?
Yes, you can.
Oh,
It's PDF, Chris.
right. So you asked for timing, I'm gonna
Oh.
time myself, so I'm sure I'm not going to much. Don't want to bore anybody. Thank you very much for letting me speak. Reeve Jennings, members of council, senior staff, and people in the audience. So we thought we would, so I'm Chris Cummings. I've been on the library board for a number of years. Just as a sort of a claim to fame, I used to be the banker and the financial advisor for Montague Township for a number of years before I retired. So I have been here many times, and I'm also a school board trustee for this area as well. So for Catholic School Board.
You guys all know me, Sarah Lynn Barton. I'm the Montague Township representative for the Smith Falls Public Library Board. And this is basically all Chris tonight, so I'm just here for some backup.
Moral support. Right, so. Okay, so what we do is, you may have, I know that Sarah does a really good job of coming to Montague Council and reporting on the goings on at the library. And I can tell you, the library board has a great deal of respect for Montague, as well as for Sarah, Trustee Martin, I should say. She does a really good job of engaging with the staff at the library and also keeping the board up to date on things that are going on at Montague Township. So thank you for that very much. So what we thought we would do, so the library is just undergoing its third phase 3 of a basically about a 20-year project to renovate, modernize, and restore. So we're just on the third phase right now. But because I know there's new members of council for Montague Township, I thought I would go back a little bit. And I've got a slideshow that I can show you some of the things that we've been doing over the years, and then just what our new project's going to be like. So probably not the best picture of the lighting, but that's the library in 2002, just before we started the major renovation. As you can see, the building was built in 1903 from a grant provided by Andrew Carnegie at a cost of $10,000, if you can imagine that. But by 2002, the building was pretty run down. So the library board at the time knew that we had to restore some of the heritage elements as well as modernize the building to make it usable for the citizenry of Montague and Smith Falls. So you can see some of the pictures of exactly what was happening. The paint over the years had been decaying. Those heritage elements are all terracotta or tin. And then, 100 years pretty ravaged it. So that's what it looked like after our renovation in 2002, our restoration project. The pillars up front give you an example of the before and after. Front doors were in pretty rough shape, although they were 100 years old. So you think about the tens of thousands of people go in and out of that building every year. It's amazing that they were built well. But we had them restored, and that's what they looked like afterwards. So from that to that. This was the inside of the building. Again, not the best picture. These are all before digital photographs, because these were 2002. But that's after we've done the restoration. It's a pretty dramatic change. These are pictures from the basement. The basement was just a big boiler. And so we removed the boiler, changed the way we heated the building, and we're able to open up that space. This is what it used to look like. Kind of like a sub-rec room, And then this is what it looked like after the renovation. This is upstairs on the main floor. Before the renovation, and then after. So much brighter. Story about the fireplace and the dragons above the fireplace, that really neat architectural detail. We didn't even know that was there. So I was project manager at the time, and during the period when it was under construction, I used to go there every morning, meet with the site supervisor, and he said to me, there was a wall there, and they said, okay, if we're gonna remove that wall, we think there might be a fireplace behind it. So I went back to my office at the time I was working at Scotiabank, and then he phoned me like 15 minutes later and said, you gotta come back, you gotta see what we discovered. So that was completely uncovered. It's hard to fathom why they would have covered up that kind of detail and when they did it, but no one in memory knew that it was there.
Or the opposite fireplace.
Yes,
On the other room.
yeah. So that's the interior doors, what it looked like before the renovation and after. And then some other shots, and there's another shot of that really beautiful plaster reliefs. The rear of the building, the bump out that you see there at the back of the building, we think was built in the 1940s. Had floor to ceiling windows, but in 2002, over the years, they've been covered over. Again, we don't know why, but we were able to, after the 2002, says 22, that's 2002 renovation, we opened up the windows so you could have natural light inside. Just making it a better place. The other story about this is the brick. After 100 years of street grime, also railroad grime, right? Because it's starting near the main railroad tracks. That yellow brick had been stained pretty bad, but this was just a sample one day during the renovation. The site supervisor said, hey, there's these people here, they want to know if you want the brick cleaned. And I said, oh, I don't know, what's that gonna cost, because we were on a tight budget. And he said, well, probably $3,000. And I go, that doesn't sound like much today, but when we were in this tight project, it was a lot. And they said, but they'll do a test sample and you can come over after lunch and have a look. So when they did it, then I went over and okay, that's $3,000 well spent, because that building now shines even today, 20 years later. So that's in the middle of the renovation. You can see just how bad it looks. And then that was it at the completion of the 2002 renovation. Which again, 22 years ago, I can't imagine, it seems like yesterday. 10 years later, in 2012, we knew that we had to do phase 2 because there was problems that were happening out front. And you can see here, the pillars are starting to move. right? So the pillars out front are all big, oak, turned on a lathe, but they were hollow and they were picking up a lot of weight from the roof of the building. But over the years, they were starting to decay, so we knew we had to fix them. So phase two of the project was exactly that. We removed the pillars, put steel beams in the center of them, just to make sure that it was the steel bearing the weight going forward and not the pillars themselves, just again to make the future, right? So here's just a few shots of that, and then when it was done. This was, it's called the titanium in the top of the building. We knew from old pictures, so that's what it looked like in, as long as I knew. But you can see in that picture that originally there was some detail there that had been lost somewhere along the way. So when we were doing the front, again, that's the best picture we had. We just got together, the architect and the graphic designer and me, and we just sat down, figured out what it used to look like, the best case scenario, and we redid it, and that's what it looks like today. So again, restoring elements was the big key of that project, as well as the original project. So today, the project that we're doing now, which you may or may not have read about, is the third floor, which is the children's department, is never been renovated properly. It was always just paint and flooring and that sort of thing. Plus, we never had access to that by way of an elevator. In 2002, we put in a lift, but because of the construction or the design of the building, we were finding it very hard to put in a full 3-story elevator. So this project that we're working on now, when we've awarded the tenders, I can tell you, I've been there almost every day this week, and last week. These constructions underway. The biggest priority is to put in an elevator to make that third floor accessible. So children, grandchildren, anybody who has needs access to that, and they maybe just can't navigate stairs, they can now be able to do that with this project. So we were able to get an architect, a heritage architect that we found, to figure out a way to make that happen, and that's what it's gonna look like. So the bump out that already exists, we're just gonna put basically it's like a dormer, if you know what that is, that we're gonna bump out the back, and then to have an elevator. And that's what it will look like. So that's what it looks like today. And that's what it'll look like when it's completed, hopefully by October of 2024. So that's gonna allow that bump out and a bunch of other internal renovations that we're doing, the elevator and everything. It's actually gonna increase the floor space by about 30% on the top floor, which is pretty significant for the children's library. And bring in a lot of natural light, which is gonna make it a much more pleasant experience for patrons and the programming that we do. Sort of what it's gonna look like from the inside. So, as I said, construction is well underway. Library is now kicking into gear a fundraising campaign to furnish the renovated space. So I should say that in 2002, Montague Township gave us a donation of $10,000 towards the construction. The whole construction phase of 2002 was about $500,000. But we were able to raise the majority of that within the community. We got lots of grants. We got a provincial grant. The town kicked in a bunch of money. But also we got grants from all the banks in town and then all the patrons as well. So now this project's about 1.4 million. We raised about 700,000 of that, and the town's kicking in the other 700,000. But what we do have to do is we have to get furniture for the new space. We want to have it all brand new furniture because we want it to be accessible again for children that don't have the mobility that other children have, as well as you know, to serve children from toddlers right up to teens, right? So we've got a bunch of stuff picked out. These are just some examples. And that's it. So I'm not here asking for money, but I'm just telling you, Montague did participate last time, and I'm opening up that opportunity for you. I know it's past budget time. We just couldn't get here any sooner. We had lots going on, and we tried to get here sooner, but we've got all year, because the construction is going to take us that long. And if Montague wants to be a part of the furniture, providing for the furniture, that's great. If not, we're still gonna do it because we're actively raising money through it. So I don't look forward to any questions.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, sir.
8 minutes or something.
It is really good, yeah. Everybody stayed awake because I think it is really interesting and great. I mean, it's great to see the library transforming and what, you know, it's going to be. Libraries are not dead by any means, and I think this is fantastic, and I hope we're able to furnish it all throughout. And I'm sure we can probably put it through our social media pages too as well, to see if we have people out there that are willing to donate to as well. That's a big part of it. I'm sure Sarah Lynn was hopefully picking out some of the things that she's seen in schools, like the light table is pretty cool, and lots of kids like those kind of things. So yeah, those are pretty so yeah, so I think this is fantastic, and I know for myself, I appreciate the update on this, and I think it's great for everybody else to kind of see also what we buy into and how important that library is. You know, how we have our Montague residents too as well, to utilize it as well. So I think it's fantastic, and thanks for showing this to us as well.
And ultimately too, I mean, we wanted to show how Montague has been a partner. And I know that the agreement that we have, it probably goes back to the 70s or the 80s, I think the last time we looked at it. So that's why Montague's been an active partner for the small public libraries. And we appreciate that.
And we knew that a few of you had come in that day that we did the open house. I think it was at our Christmas party. And a few of you who were on that were able to come in and actually look through the space and go with us on a tour around to see kind of what our ideas were moving forward. Like Jeff said, like, this is the future. So how are we going to bring more people in to use these spaces? It's not just, I mean, yes, books are amazing and awesome, and you know, want the students and children and everybody, you know, to be accessing those, but it's also about the STEM activities and, you know, just bringing those in a bit more too, which is, again, you saw for a bit of those pictures, those hands-on materials too for kiddos, because that's what's going to get them in the door. And then when they're there, it's like, oh, okay, well, we're here now, let's grab a book, or those types of activities. And that natural lighting goes back to a lot of those, like we were looking at Rebecca and I, who's another member, we were looking at like what daycares have and what like early on centers have, and how that they're engaging, right, to get these young families in now and then keep them going as they go through each stage. So that's kind of what we're really looking forward to, is making that floor accessible and available for everybody, and it's not cut off, because yeah, I remember what it was like with like baby in one hand and a carrier trying to get up the stairs and down. There's no bathroom up there, which now there will be when we're done, and having to go all the way back down the 3 flights of stairs. So all those things we're trying to make, you know, inviting and welcoming. So that's kind of our goal. And I do know that we did talk prior to COVID about doing a few fundraising type activities here. And we're meeting on Thursday to discuss a few more ideas. It's Rebecca and myself. Chris is in and out as well, but trying to come up with some ideas of how we can make it fun and engaging for everybody.
Yeah, it's great, because I know also, like, you know, the elevator side of it, when you have those young families trying to get up there, trying to wrangle all the kids up there, you got a stroller, all that kind of stuff, it really is gonna make it a lot better. And the other side, it's just like the big brothers and sisters too as well. I see the library as the same sort of function, as when you have many families that necessarily don't have access to some of those things that could be there for them, and that gives them that outlet, it gives them that place to go, depending on where they're living, what the situation is, and this is a great avenue with those, along with the big brothers, both sides of it. So kind of where you're getting a lot of the age spectrum from this and to that too as well. And I think those are important things for people to understand of why that they're there and what we're doing with those things. and how it can possibly affect especially all members of our community, especially ones that are maybe less fortunate than we are. So kudos, I think it's great.
I used to, at the front entrance at the top where the, I used to put the Christmas lights up there one time, years ago. Yeah,
Well,
it
there
was
you
gonna
go.
be something to see because you could see it from a distance.
Yeah, so this was-
Oh,
It was a sunny day.
Well, when they placed the building there, I spent a lot of time working on the history of it over because I've been involved almost 30 years ago. When they were positioning it at the top of to overlook the entire town, and they expected it to have, this commanding presence at the top of the town. And it certainly attracts a lot of attention. And, I'm certainly probably biased, but I think it's the most beautiful building in the area. So,
which one do you two were going to clean the windows?
yeah,
That should be, that should be fun, 2-story, 3-story.
we'll have to get
I
started.
need a ladder. Little early, really challenge.
So again, thank you very much for letting us come and speak, and we're just really happy to update everybody here. We're constantly trying to make the library a better place for everybody. We go back to the elevator, I hear lots of comments from parents, but also grandparents about the notion that they're gonna be able to go upstairs and do activities with their grandchildren. So that's another thing that we're really happy about. Okay, thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One for our report of municipal officers. Our first one is clerk administrative treasurer and our appointment of our public works manager.
Thank you, Chair. So, this is a report to bring forward to council, the process that we took to replace, Stephen Rothwell, our public works manager, with our new public works manager. So we did post the position externally. We had 8 applicants, 4 met the minimum, or greater qualifications. So we did invite 3 to interview. 2 responded, 1 responded a week later. So we interviewed 2 applicants, and we are bringing forward an appointment bylaw for Ian Hall, who will come to us from Lanark County. We're very excited to have Ian come on board. I think it's going to be a pretty smooth transition for him, and honestly, I think he brings a lot of qualities that will pick up where Steve left off.
So moved by Deputy Reed Carroll and seconded by Councillor Bass, that council approves the public works manager appointment bylaw in the bylaw section of the meeting dated March 5th, 2024. All in favor? That's carried. Next is our clerk administrative treasurer for options to fill vacant councillor seat for the balance of the 2026 term of council.
Okay, so thank you, Chair. So, we were sadly provided a notice of intent to resign from council by Councillor Kenny. So this report in front of you this evening is options to fill a vacant councillor seat. So Montague, from going back through the records, this has not happened since 2007. So we don't currently have a policy as far as the procedure, depending on the options you choose this evening. So I'll go through the options based on the act. So we can fill by a number of options. So you can pass a bylaw requiring a by-election, which means that it will be a very quick turnaround. There will be costs associated with that, because it's basically the same as running our full election, but for the one position. Option 2 would be the appointment process. So basically, there's a number of, so there's option 2A and 2B, so different appointment processes. So one appointment process that some municipalities use is that if there would have been additional people running for councillor during our 2022 election, council could have reached out to the next person in line with the most votes for councillor and asked if they were interested in filling the vacancy. All of our councillors were acclaimed. So there's an option that we could do appointment by call for application. So basically, we council would deem the position, the chair vacant, this evening as of March fifth. Staff would have 60 days, to bring forward the procedures and have council have the nominations apply, then come before council and fill the position. So that way it's very transparent as far as you're opening it up to everyone again, to put their name forward. Now, with option, that's option 2B, or you can do option 2C where council just picks somebody, no application and just appoint them. So at this point, I'm looking for direction from council on which option they would choose. If we're going with option 2, depending on if it's 2B, the next meeting will bring back procedures on how, so for the call for appointments, on what council potentially would be looking for, the timelines, and all of that will come back to you. The other procedures, if we do an election, I will also be coming back with information to council. So this evening is to deem the seat vacant and to get direction on which option you'd like to move forward with, so that I can bring a report back to the next council.
Imagine. So I don't have much more to say other than like, thank you to everyone here around this table. It's been a great experience and I'm certainly sad to step down, but I think reality sets in. And this is maybe I just don't have enough room on my plate for this as well this time. So, thank you.
So I'll open up for discussion. I will be supporting a call of a by-election. I just don't think that is the correct thing to do. It's not fiscally responsible in my opinion. So now I'll open it up and we can have a discussion. So I can also say my option would be to go to TV, but I'll open it up.
I second the 2B option. I think it opens it up to, other people who may have not wanted to run with 1-2 and now feel that's a good time to choose. And it gives, an opportunity to get a few people, so we have options to be able to fill a seat.
To the same thing. Just what
Easy,
you
easy,
said.
yeah, I think that's what we're going, so it's like.
So then,
I don't know.
You don't have to.
Okay.
Your opinion if you want.
I agree.
Okay. So I guess I can go ahead then with moved by Councillor Abbas, second by Councillor Crabtree, that council declare the councillor seat office be vacant effective March 5th, 2024, with the resignation of Councillor Kenny, and that council directs staff to proceed with option 2B to fill the vacant councillor seat. All in favor? Carried.
I just want to make it clear that I'll be coming back with the procedures and those types of things. So even for the public, if anybody's interested, you don't need to call me tomorrow because it's not set out and council hasn't approved the procedures yet. And the notice for applicants to apply will be after those procedures are approved at the next meeting, okay? So there's no mad panic to get everything in.
Sit in your hands, just.
Yeah.
So everybody wait 2 weeks.
And we'll have that figured out. Exactly. I have a quick question though, and so in the meantime, when we go down to 4, is quorum then 2, or is it always set for 5 and quorum is 3 if there was a?
So we'll be 3 because we're still 5.
So
Our number is still.
our number is 5, even when we have a vacant position,
It's
so,
vacant.
so it is always gonna be 3, we don't
Yeah.
change that. Okay,
Yes.
That's an important aspect.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
So now we move on to our reports of committee. So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Deputy Reid Carroll, that council approve the minutes of the committee of whole meeting of February 20th, 2024, and approve the recommendations contained within. All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Deputy Reid Carroll, seconded by Councillor Abbas, that council approve the minutes of the Montague Recreation and Culture Committee meeting of January 25th, 2024, and approve the recommendations contained within. All in favor? And that's carried. We have no petitions and we move to the first bylaw. So bylaw, moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that bylaw 4056-2024, a bylaw to adopt a multi-year accessibility plan for the Township of Montague, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 5th day of March 2024. All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Counselor Crabtree, seconded by Deputy Reed Carroll, that bylaw 4057-2024, a bylaw to enter an agreement with municipal law enforcement services for the provision of bylaw enforcement and animal control services, be read first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 5th day of March 2024. All in favor? That's carried. So moved by Deputy Reed Carroll and seconded by Councillor Abbas, that bylaw 4058-2024, a bylaw to appoint a public works manager for the township of Montague, be read first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 5th day of March 2024. All in favor? Carried. Finishes our bylaws. We move on to motion, notice of motion. We have none. Correspondence, action items, our Emergency Management Ontario grant.
Thank you, Chair. So this is notification through the grant. I had to do up a letter to notify the Reeve, or the head of council, that we were successful in our community emergency preparedness grant for the 47,284 to get the new Generac for the municipal complex. So that's great news. Another cost that's not on as far as our budget goes. So yeah, just another good news for Montague.
Great, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And then, item C, County Council media release 240228.
I would like to bring these up as always, because the things that we talk about at the county and kind of where we go. I'm gonna go through this quick because there's a lot of information there with it, what we did. A lot of it, same as last year's, is approving the community housing renewal strategy. So basically, once again, is doing a lot of the phasing stuff of some of the work that's being done in the community housing. So the updating of all that, and also the rental assistance program on Ontario Renovates. I know I bring that up a lot, but we have people in our community that are basically on hard times, and they still need stuff done in their house, everything else. There is options for them. So once again, if you know people that are having a hard time, and maybe their roof is leaking and they can't afford to do it, there is assistance options there for it too as well. One thing I want to talk about real quickly, because we approved the lease with Cabin Space, lease renewed that. If anybody doesn't know what the Cabinscape is, it's pretty cool stuff. It's like out in the woods camping, or out in the woods, like little, I don't know, say little shacks, but little small little tiny homes almost, that are really, really neat, that you can rent out and just, and you should check them out. We have one that's in our county, which is really awesome. And we approved for them to lease the space for it. But I think it's one of those ones that it's another neat tourism opportunity that's in our county. The paramedic services, we had a great talk from Chief Travis, and if you haven't met him yet, he's an amazing chief, and he does great things in our paramedics. And we have a great paramedic service that's in our county. And the nice thing about, we've seen a decline in some of the calls, but we also learned that Montague has one of the higher per capita calls too as well. So we're getting that sort of great service from them.
And then our next is move forward with media release on our county supported housing program.
Yeah, so that one there, people might have seen that in the media, and this one's a big one. So over on Willowdale, the old Willowdale that closed down, the Samir Group has bought that, and what they've kind of worked with the county is to try to build basically like a in-between house for people that can kind of like that are experiencing homelessness. And I think there's a big surprise that people don't realize the homelessness that we actually do deal with in our county. We have, like, we're not immune to what's going on and what we're seeing everywhere else in this country. We have a list of 71 people that are known homeless in Lanark County. And I'm sure we all are pretty sure that number is higher. So like continue to work to try to find ways to get people back on their feet and to you know, get them so they can hopefully contribute more to society. That's the whole plan of all of that. I think it's a great opportunity and it's great to see that the private sector groups like the Senior Group stepping up and saying that we have a space that we're willing to work with the county to do that. And we're going to renovate 11 units in that facility, support it with somebody at the front to make sure that we're sort of helping people get through that. The idea of that is it's not a drug rehab place. It's not a place where it's like a safe injection site and all of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of people that are worried about that. It's not about that. It's about finding a home for people that need it, they have to fit a criteria. There'll be a lot of safety criteria that's also put into place. But it's also another thing that's gonna go in the envelope in the county that once again, we're looking to find ways just to make it better for people or to try to solve that problem. If we don't do anything to deal with those issues, we know it's gonna get worse. So I think I'm commending in the group, and I'm excited in the sense that we continue to find ways to help deal with that situation, because the longer, or if you, that you do nothing, you're gonna see places like, you know, what the epidemic that's going on in Belleville, if you're reading the news, if you know what's going on in Waterloo and you read the news. I mean, I can go on and I can list of all the different places, and I can show you all the information that got out of control from, and I'm not being disrespectful of those local municipalities, but it got out of control by hoping that it would just go away. So these are great ideas, and it's great that the private sector is also helping to work towards a solution. To make sure that, you know, we all want to have our community safe and not have it overrun. And I think these are great opportunities for that. So if there's any sort of people that are looking at that or have questions about that or hearing things about that, I mean, I strongly recommend to reach out to your county representatives or, you know, the people in Swiss Falls or Lanark County too as well. So they can clear up any sort of misinformation or misunderstanding too as well. We're working as a group too as well to make sure that we're communicating that as best as possible. So that's sort of like our scoops from that. If there's any questions, I'm happy to talk about them at any time. So thank you.
So Councillor Bass and second by Councillor Crabtree, that council accept the information items presented this date as information. All in favor? That's carried. Now, before we have no unfinished business or other business, before we do adjournment, any questions of our audience?
Just one quick question on, in regards to our new road superintendent. When's he started, or is he already started?
So our new public works manager starts on April 4th.
Thank you.
Any online?
There are none.
So moved by Councillor Bass and seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that bylaw 4059-2024, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on Tuesday, March 5th, 2024, to be read first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 5th day of March, 2024. All in favor? It's carried. So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Deputy Reid Carroll, that council adjourn the regular meeting of March 5th, 2024 at 6:37 p.m. until March 19th, 2024 at 6 p.m. or at the call of the chair. All in favor? And it's carried. Thank you.
Welcome back to our committee of the whole, March 5th, 2024. So I'll open the meeting with our land acknowledgement. The council and staff of the township of Montague acknowledge that the sacred land on which the township of Montague is now located and this meeting is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Shawnee Nation. So the adoption of the agenda, so moved by Reeve Jennings and seconded by Councillor Bass. That the committee of the whole agenda dated February, March 5th, 2024 be approved as presented this date. All in favor? It doesn't. Okay, I just working back in time, I guess. No disclosures, no delegations. Our first report is our tech guru tonight, Kristen.
The bar is low.
Good evening, council. So back in December, staff brought a report to committee of the whole with respect to our current sale of land policy. And it was noted that policy, which is attached to this report, is quite deficient and in dire need of updating. So staff did review the current policy and contacted other local municipalities, reviewed policies from 2 of those municipalities, Drummond North Elmsley and Carlton Place. And the resulting bylaw and policy are attached to this report. Of particular note is the following. So the first is a recommendation that properties that are township owned be classified as either viable, which would be suitable for development as a standalone parcel of land, or non-viable, basically non-suitable for development as a standalone property, but potentially suitable for development if added on to an adjacent land holding. And the processes that would be followed for viable versus non-viable properties would vary, specifically in relation to how the properties would be valued and the methods of disposal. The second item of note is at this point in time, if someone is interested in a parcel of land that is owned by the township, they're given direction to put that request in writing for council to consider. So there's an application form that's attached to the policy. It's Schedule A. And the application form would provide an assurance that we have the appropriate contact information for the applicant, that the property that they're interested in is clearly identified, because not all properties have civic addresses. It suggests or promotes the value of a pre-consultation with planning staff, just to, and also Public Works, just to ensure that the parcel of land that they're interested in is sufficient for what they're proposing to use it for. And there's also a signature portion of that application. So that is their acknowledgement that they've read the policy, they understand the policy, and they want to move forward based on the contents of that policy. The third item is a certificate of compliance, and it's attached as Schedule B to the policy. And basically that's a formal assurance that we've complied with all of the provisions of the policy. So I believe that the attached draft policy gives some clearer direction for staff so that these applications can be processed in a more fair and transparent manner. And it allows for staff to make appropriate recommendations to council on how they wish to proceed. And as always, council has discretion to make any suggestions or recommendations that they deem appropriate. So that's a lot, and I'll open it up for questions.
I mean, it is a lot, but it's one that we've also been talking about for the last little while, just trying to figure out, get it cleaned up and everything else too as well, and realize what we have and what the value is of everything there. Does this council have any questions at all after we've kind of gone through this process? I don't really, myself don't really have any. I think this is a good idea.
I think you did a great job, and like Jeff was saying, it really cleans it up and gives options to what we can and what we can't do with the properties that we have.
Now, we do have one request that was submitted last year, and it's actually a part of this report for a property that would be considered to be non-viable on its own. And there have been other inquiries about other township owned parcels of land that have come in recently. So I think it's important that we have, an appropriate
up-to-date policy to work from, so.
Perfect. Awesome. So moved by Councillor Bass and seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that the council direct staff to bring forward the bylaw to the sale of other disposition of lands, owned land, or approval of to the March 19th, 2024 council meeting as per the draft presented this date. All in favor? And that's carried. Our second and only other thing on the agenda is the Pioneer Road Agreement, another one that we've been talking about with for a few years now.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So staff have brought several reports to council on the realignment of Pinery and the agreement with the adjacent landowner, with the most recent being June of last year. At that time, staff was directed to explore costs for the stop-up and closure of, it was considered potentially a path or roadway, that land titles, was not showing. Since that time, staff have contacted the surveyors have come back and noted that a Montague Atlas, from the past does show that there was a road or a path in that location. And several other surveyors have actually done survey work in that area and noted that to be a road or path. So at this time, we have received pricing. So for us to move forward with the realignment and based on what the adjacent landowner would wish to have, would either be, as presented previously to council, is to indemnify for a lifetime anything that happens on that space, or that we survey, stop up and close and transfer, so that we would have no legal liability in the future. That would be the recommendation of staff, is to clean up the issue and move forward. So the pricing that we've received for that is approximately $10,000, because they would have to survey the whole parcel to do the roadway. And then we had allocated in the 2024 budget, $20,000 for legal and survey costs. The survey cost for the realignment is estimated to be $7,000. Now with the stop up and closure of the road, it'd be $10,000. And we're anticipating legal costs on top of that. Now, we were under budget last year for Pinery, substantially under budget because this got delayed. So we do have funds from that as well. And also in that agreement, the adjacent landowner was looking for all of his legal costs. My recommendation for council is to do up to a maximum of the $10,000 amount, because it's not up to us on how often he contacts his lawyer. And if we just have an open book of what we're gonna pay, that may add up very quickly. So I think we need to put a maximum amount on that to ensure that we're getting good cost for what's happening. So the recommendation this evening is to continue to move forward. This has been several years in the works. And if we can get this cleaned up, we should be able to move forward with the Pinery Road realignment, which will be great. So the recommendation is for council to provide direction for myself and the REIT to enter into an agreement that satisfies not providing indemnification of all cases with the alleged road, but rather stopping up and closing the road and completing the survey, and only allowing legal costs up to a maximum of $10,000.
Thank you, Ally. I mean, it's a lot of information, especially for people that maybe have not been following this or don't really know the whole history. I mean, this has started back over a decade ago of looking at this too as well, but it was kind of left on the back burner. I mean, I commend this council for also tackling this, and staff also tackling this too as well, and also going through and making sure that we're gonna do this right. Not kicking it down the road by identifying or having an issue, and then 10 years down the road, you know, somebody comes back and then they, you know, we get look back at it and say, like, why did they do that? So this is a great way, I think, of cleaning it up, but also getting that road, continually making that road safer and better aligned, as we've had, you know, development there. I think we're up to over 80 houses over there. I mean, it's got some pretty good growth there, so I think there's a big portion of this, getting this cleaned up and cleaned up right. I agree with obviously having a threshold on how much, because we, you know, obviously do not want to get legal costs getting out of control. So I mean, that's well done for making sure that we're putting things in place to not get the spending get out of control. And I think this is the right plan, and we're keeping it in the budget that we're looking forward to as well. I'm sure our new public works manager is looking forward to looking at this as he comes on too as well. And getting up to speed with it too. So, once again, great. I think we're moving in the right direction. On that note, if there's any questions from council, I think we all three are getting pretty versed on this now, so I think we have a pretty good understanding. And, I think we'll move forward with that, so.
Great work, staff.
So on that, so moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Reeve Jennings, that council directs staff to proceed with the hiring of a surveyor to complete the survey to allow for the stop of enclosure, and that council provide direction to the clerk administrator and Reeve to enter into an agreement with Mr. Jabbar that meets the satisfactions of not providing identification of any cases with the alleged road, rather stop up and close the road and provide to Mr. Jabbar. And further, the council direct that the township does not pay all legal costs of Mr. Jabbar, but legal costs of a maximum amount of $10,000 in relation to the realignment and stop up and closure of the Pinery Road project. All in favor? That's carried. So a few things, like big things that were on there, but nice that we're getting it cleaned up. So we don't have any reports of committees, we don't have any petitions or motions or notices, and no unfinished business before we adjourn. Any burning questions out in the audience or online world? Nowhere, anywhere? Smooth and nice, that's great. Let me see. I don't mind adjournment. Okay, so moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Bass, that we adjourn this meeting at 6:54 PM. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. I'll see everybody again in 2 weeks. Well, everybody but Reeve Jennings.
Yeah.